Okay, in today's video, I'm going to walk you through my article that was published in French Property News and is now available online in the completefrance.com online library. So this was all about my experience applying for the long stay visa to work in France as a self-employed person. So visa was approved and I'm going to walk you through what happened. So my name's Kate Kerjay. And my husband and I actually met in France 15 or so years ago in Val d'Isère. Fast forward many years after that, 10 or so years, we had a little baby in lockdown in the UK and we were ready for a new chapter and ready to move back to France. So I'm going to walk you through my journey. When I was in the UK, I started my online business consultancy. It was growing, going from strength to strength. And we realized that we could work from anywhere. We always wanted to move back to France. However, this was just post-Brexit, so we just missed the deadline to not have to go through this visa process. So with our best project management hats on, we began this process to apply. So we applied for long stay visas. The plan was to always live there permanently. So we wanted a route to full residency and not have to continue doing visa applications after a certain amount of time. So we applied for the VLS-TS. So this is actually a visa on entry. So a visa is something that gets you into the country across the border. Once it's converted, and I'll go into that later on, it lasts initially for 12 months, and then that transforms into a residence permit upon validation. That online validation must take place within 3 months after you arrive in France. So the first application is to get across the border and be allowed in. The second one is online validation. And then that piece of paper in your passport then becomes your carte de séjour for the first year. When you do your renewal process, you'll then get an actual physical card. So my husband and I both applied for the VLSTS Entrepreneur Profession Liberale. So this is kind of the self-employed freelancer kind of work that many people do these days, remote working. Obvious choice for those wanting to work when they move to France. It's self-employed, suitable for self-employed, and those that are going to be registering as a micro-entrepreneur when you get into France. So ME. It's the old auto-entrepreneur system. This also includes running gîtes and doing other things self-employed. Good point to note, there are a couple of other different options for working in France. The first one is finding a salaried offer, which is usually the hardest route to go. The second option is the business creation visa, but you do need to invest a substantial amount of money in sort of setting up your business. This is for much bigger businesses over and above sort of freelancing self-employed work. There is a visa wizard on the France Visa website that you can click on and check all of these different ones out and see which one's the best fit for you. However, if you're retired and you don't need to work, then you can just get your visitor visa, and that's just a 12-month thing that just renews each time. You don't need to show work, clients, business plans, anything like that. You do, however, need private health insurance and the ability to fund yourself at the criteria level every 12 months. But in this video, we're focusing on the Entrepreneur Profession Liberale visa, which is the one that we successfully got and moved to France on. So the main focus of this visa is the business plan, right? This is the one that you are going to, this is the document where you're going to show how you're going to make money in France and how you're going to satisfy the SMIC, which is the minimum salary, like minimum wage in France. Now, at the time of writing this, we had to satisfy about 1,250. I'm recording this in July 2025. It's now like 1,450. So it goes up every year, of course, as do all minimum wages. So make sure that you're checking it against the current minimum wage in France. And essentially your business plan is you validating your business idea and showing that it is likely to create this amount of money for you every month, okay? Now, it's a little bit more complicated than that. There are certain things that a good business plan will have. The only criteria that the French consulate give you is simply that it needs to have a multi-annual budget forecast, okay? So we need to know how much you're going to make in the first few years and then 5 years maybe even 10 years for good measure after that. So some important things to include that I did was the market analysis. If your business has been running already versus is it a new business, those are going to look, kind of two different scenarios. Competitor research, marketing methods. Is there a market for this in France? Is this serving global businesses, consumers? It actually doesn't matter for this visa where your clients are. What matters is the money that you're bringing in. Okay, there are other countries where you have to have clients in certain places, not in Spain, outside of Spain, all of these kind of things. But for this particular visa, currently you can have clients wherever you want. So it's important that you are really hammering home that you will bring in this amount of money. Another important area to focus on is what you're going to do after you arrive. That trips a lot of people up. So have it clear and include it in your business plan. Like, what are you going to do when you arrive in France? So the first thing that you're going to do in a practical sense is get to France and then validate your visa. But before that, you need to actually do the application for the visa. So we did our visa application in the UK. And this video is all about our experience. So I went to the TLS office in Manchester. They process on behalf of the French consulate. My kind of activity did not need any sort of pre-approval from the prefecture. It wasn't like a geographical based business like opening Jeets, for example. So it didn't need any rubber stamping from anyone. I could just go straight in with the business plan with our dossier. Getting an appointment can be quite tricky, but you just have to keep trying, check at different times of the day. Often checking at night helps, and working out when they release the next set of appointment dates. So we went over early in the morning. We chose Manchester. It was the closest one at the time to us. Staff were really lovely. It took about an hour and a half to do 2 applications plus biometrics afterwards as well. You get a number when you get in and you just wait to be called. It's like a counter and you wait to be called. We tracked our passports online and they were sent the following day to the French consulate in London, and our visas were actually issued really, really quickly, within 24 hours. We weren't asked for any further information, which you might be, okay? So make sure that you're looking out for any notifications. This can massively delay the process because you kind of get put back to the back of the queue. So dossiers were large, and I'll go into what I included, but it was worth sort of going the extra mile with it, so they didn't have any gaps in what they were asking for or what they were reading. My husband went to pick up the visas in Manchester a week later. So on arrival in France, this bit's really important, just as a practical note. You need to register your business with URSSAF or whoever your Chamber of Commerce is for your particular activity. There will be different ones, but a lot of the time for the Profession Liberale, because it's that freelancer kind of visa, you're probably working at home remotely in a service-based industry. It's likely that it's going to be URSSAF for you, but do check. We validated the visas online. So there's a little slip of paper when you pick up your passport. There certainly was with ours that says this is where you go, like the website address to convert your visa, or certainly like do the application to convert it into a titre de séjour, which isn't anything physical. It just means that in the back end, that visa isn't now an entry visa. It's converted into a titre de séjour for 12 months. You have to pay for that, costs €200 per person. Not necessarily for minors. So I did a visitor visa for my son at this point, and it wasn't necessary for him. You have to pay by French revenue stamp, which can be a little bit confusing for people. So it's called a timbre fiscal. So you need to go to a particular website and it will direct you to do that. Go to a particular website. You used to be able to go to a tabac in France and buy that stamp. I don't know if that's the process anymore, but certainly a few years ago you could do it. But online you go and essentially like buy a, what's the word? Almost like buy a stamp. So you pay a different website. They give you the stamp. It has a number, and that's how you make your payment on the website. I was so glad we did it, but it was a lot. So I'm going to run through, just to finish this video, the dossier checklist that we had at the time of our application a couple of years ago. Okay, it hasn't, to my knowledge, changed massively. The only thing different might be that you need pre-approval from the prefecture for your kind of business that you're doing. So you need to understand that process. So you need to actually have a signed and dated French visa application form. So that's a physical form that you download and sign. You need your France visas receipt of your appointment, valid passport, copies of any pages with existing visas. residence permit if applying in another country outside your country of origin, ID photos. I took ID photos, but they weren't the right size. They're very specific sizes. The TLS office has a photo booth where you can pay for the privilege of getting the exact size. Note that certainly in Manchester, it was contactless payment, no cash. Proof of no criminal records. In England, this used to be called a CRB check. This is now a DBS check. It's a different thing, and often people get rejected because they've given the sort of wrong criminal check. So make sure that you are getting the right check. Supporting documents for your purpose of stay. So if you are setting up a business or doing self-employed activity with a particular kind of work, you might want to include degree certificates, diplomas, anything like that as well. There's a very specific SURFA form, which doesn't make much sense, to be quite honest, and it's called the Retailer, Craftsperson and Manufacturer form. It's really just a kind of form to tick a few boxes. It doesn't actually do anything with your application, but it's just a box checking exercise for that form. A written business plan with the multi-annual and estimated budget. If you're not sure how to do that, click on the link below because I provide my template for you with lots of extra templates to add on if you want to help you with some of the things that I'm talking about. Proof of credit balance from an account and the applicant's name at a French-based credit union. I would recommend going to Credit Agricole Britline. You can set up a bank account with Britline, which is actually based in Normandy in France. So you get the French bank account number, but you can put money in there and you don't have to be a resident of France to do that. So that's something that you can do in advance. Any other documentation, letters from the prefecture if you need it, letters of intent, lease agreements is really important. So where will you be staying? Proof of funds. We actually filled out the SURFA form for the application for the micro entrepreneur, but I don't think we needed to at that point. We actually bought comprehensive private health insurance. It doesn't technically have to be included, but I have seen some rejections because of not having the right health insurance. Please note it's not travel insurance, it's health insurance. You do technically get enrolled into the French healthcare system when you make your application to be a micro entrepreneur. So you don't necessarily need health insurance, but actually it took us 6 months to get that sorted and get the sort of documentation that we needed. So the private health insurance for us was really important, especially traveling with a child. It was around the time of COVID, so we included our vaccination certificates. Covering letter of motivation is really, really important. You can get that as part of the template pack as well. Tenancy agreement, we were going into a long-term rental. And then for the son's visitor visa, it was really, really easy. It was just ID plus health insurance and the accommodation. So a lot of the stuff that we already had, plus a letter of intent to enroll him in school as he was a minor. I hope that's been really helpful for you. Click on the link below if you want any of the templates, business plan, cover letters, anything like that. You can get it all in the link below.